Our ability to connect with people is really a superpower. Thank you for listening to this episode of Tracy Talks. Remember to rate, review, subscribe, and share with others who would enjoy listening to this podcast. You can also find Tracy Talks on Instagram under More Tracy Talks. Please like and share with others who would enjoy listening to this podcast. And until next time, we meet again. Our ability to connect to people is really the reason why we're here. It is through these personal, intimate connections that we can feel the depths of our feelings and our emotions and our joy and our purpose. When we connect with people, we are showing others who we are. We are showing people the depths of our soul. And if I look at how life was when I was a child versus how it is now, I feel like we have, as a society, we have evolved in how we connect. I don't know that when I was growing up, there were true, deep connections within people. It still felt like we were not really opening ourselves up to the people around us. I'm sure there were friendships that did, but a lot of the partnerships and marriages that I witnessed were just that, were a partnership. There wasn't a lot of deep emotional connection. And thankfully, we have evolved. We have evolved into a society where we know what it feels like to connect. And therefore, now that we know what it feels like, we begin to analyze the relationships that do not connect on that same level. On one hand, we have gained enormous amounts of wisdom. And that's what it comes when we learn to connect with people on our true, authentic self. Once we know what that feels like, once we have that in our life, all of the other relationships are now being compared to those relationships in which we can be ourselves and we can connect. I understand that I am here for true intimate connection. And I'm not talking about intimacy in a personal relationship. I'm just talking about my friendships and what I now need and require in those. And it's an intimate relationship because these people know who I am, really who I am, who see me as I really am. All of these other relationships that cannot and do not measure up to that, it's becoming increasingly difficult to participate in those. It takes two people to connect on those deep levels. You can't just have, it just can't be me. I can't be the only one in a partnership that is doing all of the connecting and doing all of the reaching out and doing all of the opening up and sharing. A true partnership, friendship, any type of relationship that has that true authentic connection, it requires both people to participate. And I do understand that everybody does not come here with the same level of awareness. They do not come here with the same intention to grow into themselves, grow into their identity, their spirituality, whatever you want to call it. Some people are simply here to live and exist, and that's fine. However, those relationships for me are not a priority anymore. I can't continue to surround myself with people who don't see things in the same way that I do. I can't continue to surround myself with people who don't want to experience the depths of this reality. There is an assumption that when we open up and expose ourselves, that we become vulnerable, and that vulnerability is often a frightening place to exist, because when we open ourselves up to being hurt, to showing people who we are, having them potentially reject us, that level of vulnerability is and can be frightening. But what comes with that vulnerability is this true, intense connection. Nobody else can do that work for us. We have to be willing to go into that place, because that's where the sweetness of life is. That's where the true, deep, intimate connections are always going to be found. In that place of vulnerability, in that place of authenticity. You simply cannot get that true, deep connection when you are not willing to open up and be vulnerable and show who you are. I see people around me right now, and there is a little bit of tension and struggle, because there is this sensing that some people aren't showing up. Some people aren't willing to be authentic. And however that shows up, whether it's a mask, whether it's a projection, whether it's, accusations, or somebody is blatantly pointing out everybody else's problems but refuses to acknowledge and own their own role. There are times where I just simply love to watch people, because if you watch people and how they react and respond, if you watch people's facial cues, you can understand how they really feel, their hurts, their pain. There are lots of times when people's words do not match up to their body language and their responses. And while I'm not going to be calling people out, I'm not going to say you're not authentic and you're not showing up and you're a fake and you're a fraud. I'm not going to do that. But I'm also not going to invest my precious time and my precious energy into people, situations, and circumstances who are not going to match me, who are not willing to go there, who are not willing to go into the depths of their soul with whatever shows up. I don't even know what's going to show up when I go into the depths of my soul with somebody. But it's with that willingness to explore that. Again, that's where the sweetness in life is. That's the thing that we all want. And it's going to be scary as hell to walk that path, and trust. Because there's no guarantee that we're not going to get hurt. There's no guarantee. It's not going to be scary. But it's also the thing that most of us want and desire in our life. Thank you for listening to this podcast of Tracy Talks. Please like and share with others who would enjoy listening to this podcast. And until next time, we meet again.